Any seats in here?
Hey, good evening, guys.
Huh? Those are open? Thanks.
So, well, you're joining right now. You are joining for the sneak premiere of River Reborn, the Ottaway. And this is work that the Grand Traverse Band of the Ottawa and Chippewa Indians have been working with a documentary filmmaker to put together. And right now I'll show you in the State Theatre here, right in Traverse City. As you're joining, you can see this is an absolutely packed house. The movie's due to start in about 5 minutes. And this is the first time anyone's had a chance to actually see this. So stick around for a few minutes. I have special permission from the filmmaker to live stream this. However, we can only do about 15 minutes. So you're going to have about 15 minutes of this movie, and then you'll be able to find it on PBS. And it's also going to be available through a couple of film festivals, Traverse City Film Festival and another film festival. The gentleman who directed the movie is called Dan Bertolin, and to tell you a little bit about it, it's a look at how the used to be called the Ottaway River has been destroyed through logging, and the effects of things that happened 100 years ago that are happening today, and how this river restoration project has been taking place, which is still going on. If you guys have been joining recently, you will have seen some of the drone footage of a couple of the dam removals that are happening. We're still going to be showing you more of that stuff. However, tonight this is a special preview of the documentary. So sit back and enjoy, and hopefully be able to maybe interview the documentary and filmmaker a little bit later on for you guys as well. Just have to excuse people going past for now. Feel free to invite some of your friends. The movie itself is 55 minutes, and the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians put a lot of work into putting this together, and it's going to show you all the different stakeholders involved in this river. And it's going to show you kind of how the decisions that we make today impact things years and years into the future. Specifically with this project, how decisions that were made hundreds of years ago still have an impact today. Thanks for sharing, Rizzy. Thanks, Glenda. So to talk a little bit about the documentary, the Ottaway River Reborn explores the history and future of humanity's relationship with the Boardman River. Through the hearts and minds of various stakeholders, a story unfolds about the challenges of turning back the hands of time by removing the 3 upper dams and modifying a 4th to once again connect the river with the waters of the Grand Traverse Bay. This film weaves together the native values, the complexity of a changing society, and the unspoken voices of nature's population of environmental citizens whose lives are interwoven with the rebirth of the Ottaway.
Is anybody in those seats?
We got a combo. We got a butter seasoning.
Yeah, there will be more information about the film in the notes of this, but right now it's not possible to do that, but it'll be edited afterwards. and you guys will be able to find it on PBS as well. Just stick around, guys. You'll see they'll be starting in a few minutes. They're still just bringing people in. As you can see, this theatre is absolutely packed out.
Good evening, folks. My name is Frank Katuri. I'm an ecologist and project manager. I work for the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians in the Natural Resources Department. I'm happy to be here tonight for all you folks to be able to watch the premiere screening of a documentary movie that was put together by Discover Media Works and Dan Vercallen, a filmmaker standing next to me. Grand Traverse Band Council wholly supports this movie. They wanted to be here tonight. We had a funeral for an elder tonight. We have 4 counselors at that funeral, and we have 3 counselors in Washington, D.C., including our chairman, fighting the environmental battles that we all should be fighting. So thank you to the stewards, the original stewards of this land, to let folks like me help share in that responsibility for the waters that flow through our town. This is Dan Vercallen. He is from Discover Media Works, and he's the actual filmmaker, and I'm just going to hand it over to him, and I hope you like the documentary.
Thank you, Frank. There's more people here than I thought would show up, so Frank, I told you we should have been selling the tickets, not giving them away. Only kidding. We're delighted that all of you came here to see this screening this evening. It's been an honor and a joy to work with Frank and all of the 32 people who you're going to see in the film tonight. And the reason that it was an honor and a joy is that one of my challenges as a filmmaker is trying to tell a story when you point a camera at somebody who's not used to having a camera pointed at them, and trying to really get good emotion and feeling. And trust me, as you're about to see, nobody held back on giving their opinions from all different sides of the story here this evening. They gave a piece of their heart, their soul. They actually opened a vein and gave a piece of themselves. So really it made my job a lot easier. Now, a few fun facts about the making of this film. It took about 18 months of videotaping, not continuously, but about 45 days. Throughout that period, in all 4 seasons, using 5 cameras on 5 different devices, all the way from holding it still on a tripod to moving the camera around, even including drones and underwater cameras, to capture about 70 hours of field footage to build the film. From that 70 hours, it was cataloged and broken down into 7,600 individual video clips that it took about 100 days sitting there clicking away in an editing suite to make the 58 minutes that we're going to see here this evening. Now, if you're a connoisseur of documentaries, you might know there are 3 basic kinds. Yeah. The first kind is where somebody writes a script, they hire a narrator with a good voice, they narrate it, they lay in the soundtrack, and then they cover it with video footage to help tell the story. They can be good, but one of the problems that sometimes occur, certainly as viewers, is because it's scripted from a particular point of view, it's paid for to be scripted from a particular point of view, sometimes you're being told what to think and what to know. The second kind of documentary is one where you have an on-camera host, maybe like David Attenborough. You've all seen that. They're really great. He's on camera, he introduces it, then he works in and does bridges, he narrates the whole thing, and they can be tremendous, tremendous documentaries. But again, the challenge comes in, and that the scripted part of it reflects a certain point of view. So depending on the documentary filmmaker, you can be told what to think or what to know. The final kind is the one that we're going to see here tonight, where as many people as they can to try to tell different perspectives of the story, and then to let the story tell itself. You'll see 32 people here on camera here tonight. Oh yes, we do have some hosts, some young people. They do little bridges and transitions and some opens. And although their part is relatively small on a timeline on camera, what they do is really important to you here in the audience. They ask what's known as critical questions. What is the worth of a river? Who determines that? And if a river can be restored, how could it possibly be restored? Now, as you watch the film this evening, I'd like to leave you with one parting thought here. Although I pushed red buttons on cameras and sat there clicking away on a mouse for months on end, this isn't just my film, this is really your film. This is about your history. This is about your community. It's about your river. And collectively, it's about how you're going to chart your future. So with that, let's together take this journey of discovery down the Ottaway, a river reborn. Let's roll.
In today's society, we're hung up in this notion or idea that man can influence and develop and take advantage of the environment and natural resources to their own benefit without impact. The fact or the concept that everything is integrated, everything is connected and interrelated, and when you unravel one component of that system, you have problems that ripple down through the system into the future through time and space. If the river could talk,
the river would say to us,
let me flow, let me splash, let me do what I should do.
This is my blood, this is flowing through my veins.
I'm part of an entire environment, and I have a part to play in that.
And I can hear her giggling, but I also hear the birds. And I hear the life that's around here.
They all had a voice, and somebody would listen to that voice. They would say, miigwech. In our language, we say thank you. They'd say miigwech for listening to us, because maybe now you'll understand how important it is that we live here and how tied together we all are in this place we're at.
Why not listen to what it's saying?
Anjibima, Vizimgwa, Manda, Ottaway.
Oh, I see dinner over there.
Oh, okay. I haven't been in a river in a long time. I love kayaking.
Hey, check out this river here. It's beautiful. This reminds me of hanging out with my family.
Awesome.
Ooh, I hope you guys get some trout.
Something bigger than yesterday.
When you think about it, a river is like an artery that feeds lifeblood to all of the ecosystems that it nourishes along its path.
Makes sense, right?
So what happens to all of the ecosystems and their creatures when one species pinches the flow of that artery for 100 years?
What might happen if that one species decides to reopen the artery?
Well, that's what's happening here, on the Boardman River. It's an awakening of sorts.
Back to a time when this river was called the Ottaway.
So grab your gear and join us as we explore
The story of what happened in this river valley and what's still about to happen. See you guys later downstream.
Have fun. All right, let's go fishing.
kind of makes you wonder, who were the first people to call this place home?
Then we migrated over here maybe 1,200 years ago. So this area is like a Garden of Eden. The Boardman River was our life, really. It gave us food, transportation, all the way to helping with our housing, our living, our foods, everything. The different animals that we could get, the beaver, the furs from them. And so the river itself provided everything that we needed.
It provided us water to drink. It provided us water to take care of our clothing, to bathe in, the moisture for all the trees and the plants that are here, all the animals that come here that we may have used the deer, the rabbit to eat off from. So everything is connected to this water that we used and kept us balanced and helped us survive.
Like most places, European settlers displaced Native Americans and built cities in the best spots, usually at the mouths of rivers.
There wasn't a lot of people here, settlers. But as soon as they started using the Erie Canal, then all of a sudden people from Europe and Finland and all over Ireland were coming directly to Michigan. And so all of a sudden, in the 1850s, there was an explosion of population of people that were here.
Europeans settling into Michigan, they knew what was going on. Native Americans who saw it arrive in their neighborhood simply did not have a clue what they were up against.
That land was owned by anybody. It was for everybody or the one who possesses it. They don't own that land. It's for their use, to maintain a livelihood.
We know, and have always followed the rule, that we treat everything as our relative. And if you don't, you make that relative suffer. And when we saw the immigrants, the way they behaved with dirtying the water when they didn't need to, we knew that they were doing this for their gain at the suffering of everything around them. We had to leave. The pressure got so great, people came in and actually chased us away from where we were living. So we had no choice in the matter.
Tribal communities were taken advantage of because they probably couldn't explain the depth and breadth of connection to the natural world that human beings have and should respect and honor. And then we came in and we just walked right over them and dismissed their beliefs, dismissed their teachings because it wasn't written down, it wasn't proven by some scientific method.
It's cool that there's still some white pines here.
Yeah, they used to stretch as far as the eye could see.
When we were settling the country, it was absolutely critical for us to build the infrastructure. And logging was a major business in Michigan, but there were repercussions.
Huge native white pine trees was the predominant wood that they were after. Cut them with two-man hand saws, transporting them and pulling them to rivers, floating them down the rivers, standing on the logs to make sure they didn't jam, and then getting them to a mill to cut.
So from the 1840s through the 60s, every tree within 100 miles of here was gone. Absolutely cut, rolled into the river, along with the sediments that came off that barren hillside and floated in a series of explosions down through town so they could cut them up and send them down to Chicago and have them build it a couple times.
And you can only imagine what kind of devastation that would have on the actual channel shape, the diversity, the morphology, the hydrology, all those key pieces to good habitat for fish.
Because of that devastation, almost every species in the Boardman River was negatively impacted. And one of the repercussions is the elimination of the grayling population in the Boardman River.
All that life that was destroyed, literally destroyed and murdered in that moment. So it didn't just impact us two-leggeds, it impacted that spirit world. And in our Indian way of life, we are connected to that world. We were put here to learn from that and to take care of it.
Where I come from is called Chippewa. It means white pine, and Zebing is the river. So we understand that process of the river. And those are very important to us. And when they came in and they clear-cut our white pine, those are like our buffalo to the Western tribes. They took away our livelihood and who we were. And one of our elders said that the white pine, we have not mourned the loss of our white pine. We have not mourned the loss of our white pine.
We know that the invention of electricity reshaped our lives forever, but it also reshaped the ecological lives of rivers across America, including this one.
1881, Edison invents the light bulb. By 1889, hydro dams are going up all over the country. The only power they had in Traverse City at the time was from coal and wood right downtown. There was one building with electricity at that time.
As our nation developed, there was a need for the hydroelectric. That was one of the methodologies of growing our electricity, which grows our economy and provides services to our citizens.
Back in 1894, when we constructed the first hydro dam,
the dams were new to the Boardman River. Obviously, at that time, it looked like a great thing, a way to generate electricity. And electricity is up and coming.
They saw opportunities to utilize natural resources, and they did.
It was just, let's use the resource however we want to use it. Let's abuse the resource, just like the trees that were cut, to get the maximum benefit, dollar benefit out of it.
And that they brought their values and their perspectives of what they wanted out of life and changed it.
And use does not mean abuse or change. And some of the changes that have come through the Boardman Valley have been abusive. Man using his force. Man, American men.
But we don't understand what it did to the river that was naturally there, and the species that did exist there, that no longer exists there because when we impounded it, we warmed the water. We changed the composition of the landscape. You can't go forward looking in a rearview mirror, and you have to understand that nobody put those dams in place thinking they were going to have negative, adverse effects on our environment. That didn't happen. The dams were an important part of our region at that time. It was important for the people at that time. We've moved beyond that. We know better now. We have better science in place, and we have a better understanding of our natural environment.
So who determines the worth of a river?
Depends on who you ask.